All right, I'm back here with another NewScott interview, and today I'm joined with the one and only Markus Burke. How are you doing today?
What's going on, man?
Not much, just getting ready to interview the legend himself, the
The
man.
legend. Sweet.
Before we get started here, I have a question. Where did the name Mr. Suave Joshua Arrow come from?
Oh my God. Dude, I have no idea. We started like 11 years ago when we first got out of Emile Dupre's school. Um, I think I came up with it, but Julian or Titus might have came up with it too. But I'm pretty sure I came up with the Joshua Arrow. I think I was just kind of scrolling through names at work, like just procrastinating at work. I was working like a programming job at the time, and nerd, and I just just try to find a name as a mark. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be called this. I'm gonna do all these things, and then I came up with like the Joshua Arrow. Mr. Suave might have been a Julian thing, so
Okay.
that's kind of where it came from. But I don't know. I my brain sucks, dude.
What was the catchphrase? Too hot to be straight, too pimp to be gay? That
Look,
was
yeah.
awesome. I
Oh,
remember
that's
I announced you as that at the cup one that time.
whatever, dude. It didn't make any sense. It was um I forget where I was hailed from anywhere but here
Yeah,
to Hockey to him to be gay, which is insanity. If you look at me now, I'm just like a caveman. But
yeah,
back in the day, I thought I was pretty sexy,
it was awesome. Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Were you a fan of professional wrestling growing up?
definitely, man. My first memories of it were WrestleMania 3. I'm old. My mom, I think I was 3 or 4 or whatever at the time, and my dad got it on VHS, and I just remember the Hulk and Andre, him slamming. I just remember Hulk slamming Andre because that's all that mattered. I remember at the time, that was a huge deal, um, even for a kid that didn't know anything about wrestling.
Yeah.
So, after that, I was hooked for sure. Every Saturday morning, I would watch it, and unfortunately, thankfully and unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of like territory stuff, which we're dying now and stuff. But my dad was really loved wrestling as well, so we got a lot of like Ric Flair stuff and NWA and WC at beginnings at WCW or whatever. Um, so I was a huge Ric Flair mark right off the bat. Just the way, I didn't see him wrestle too much, but I saw every time I saw him, I'm like, who's this guy? Like, with the fucking suits and the belt and talking with the woos. I'm gonna marked out for him. So I was fortunate enough, even in my young days, without the internet for you young kids, it was just tapes, and even where I'm from, there's not many tape tradings. My dad didn't know anything about that, so he just got a had a friend that liked wrestling, and so just kind of I've been watching wrestling since I've been born, really.
Who were your favorite guys to watch? You just mentioned Ric Flair. Who else?
Well, I was a Hogan mark whenever there was that Hogan and Warrior thing. I like both, but I think I was still a Hulkamaniac. You know what I mean? Um, so that was kind of a bummer when Warrior won. Hogan after that, obviously Bret Hart because I'm just not because I'm Canadian, but I thought he was really great, and I'm Canadian, so that's good. Owen Hart was always amazing. I'm trying to think like obscure guys that Spivey. I love Spivey, who came out to be Waylon Mercy at the time. Uh,
Nice.
I loved his stuff beforehand, and come on, come on. Oh, I take a lot of mannerisms from this guy. I can't believe I don't remember his name. He used to team up with Kevin Sullivan at the time, back in the day. He's dead now. He died in like the '90s. Big
Okay.
like, I'm gonna come on. I'll be back with that one. I'll be back that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. I can picture him, but I can't think of his name either.
They used to call him like Mad Dog. Not Mad Dog with Sean, but the Mad Dog from the Southern states. Anyway, he's a big influence on my stuff. I'll post it on my Facebook after this, and we'll figure it out.
At what point did you decide, watching wrestling, you were like, "This is something I want to do"? What was it for you that made you make that decision?
It never really occurred to me like that I was going to be a professional wrestler. Weirdly enough, um, I was working as a programmer. I just got out of school, and I fucking hated it. Like, I really hated it. I thought, that's something. Obviously, it's something you should do if you want to go to school and stuff. It's not a bad decision. Um, and the whole techie thing was kind of in. It were, jobs were popping up everywhere. But sitting in front of a computer for 12 to 15 hours looking at code is just not my jam, man. So I was just kind of looking around for different things, and I met Julian and Titus, Julian Young, and they were doing backyard wrestling. And and do you remember this? Like in Irish Town
Yeah.
Hardcore Wrestling? Probably remember that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, of course you would.
I don't remember the names. I remember hearing about it. Yeah.
Do you have DVDs or anything of that?
I don't know.
Oh,
I
we'll
wish.
get you. I can get some. It's fucking amazing. um, so backyard wrestling was never really like uh my thing. You know what I mean? I knew who like people that had done it before, but it wasn't my jam. But I met them just in the transition where Emil Dupree, Renee's dad, Grand Prix Wrestling, was starting a school, and it wasn't really to train guys. It was just to train his son, Renee. Not Renee, Jeff. Remember Jeff
Jeff,
Dupree?
yeah.
Yeah, his Renee's older brother that wanted to get in the business after Renee fucking exploded on the scene. Unfortunately, not the same talent. But it's okay. So he bought a bunch of guys and put an ad out to come in and get our asses kicked by Jeff, and so we were brought in to get our ass handed to us by Jeff, and we did, dude. I got my nose broken twice. I got my jaw like cracked. Like Chris Tuff got knocked out cold by him. Um, yeah, it was just like a shit show. We started off, I think there was like 15, 12 to 15 guys. By the end of it, there was like three or four of us. And and so yeah, I finished that. And then it was off to the races. Oh, and by the way, my first name wasn't Mr. Suave, Joshua Arrow, is Victor E. Suave. Ah, uh,
That's too sweet.
two tweets. Yeah. So history lesson there. So after that, it was kind of off the right races. A little disappointed. I didn't get disappointed. Looking back, I understand now, but I didn't get booked like on the Grand Prix tour. The first, like you out of school, and then they do a tour. Julian Titus, I got a couple of dates, but I didn't, and
Was that the 2005 tour?
I believe so. Yeah, 2005. I mean, Jeff was champ on it. When he was walking around with the belt backstage and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, when what was his name? Remember him?
Eddie
Well,
Watts.
thank you. He was on the tour. So
Yeah.
2005, actually,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was cool, Sheldon. He was really cool. He showed me a few things too. So I didn't get booked on that tour. A little disappointed, but dude, I was like 160 or 70 pounds at the time, just getting in the gym. I get it back, looking back, I get it, but that almost like lit a fire in my ass. Be like, that's kind of my thing. When people pass me up for things, I'm like, dude, fuck you. I can do this. I can do better than you. And I did. So, it's looking back, that was it. I can't even remember what your question was. I just rambling. I rant. That's what I do.
It was when did you decide to become a wrestler, or what was it that made you decide?
Try to answer that through it. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Was there anything, any part of training that was harder for you to catch on to over something else?
It's hard for me to remember. It's quite, it's about 11 years ago. But I think I was one of the guys that just kind of got it. I got it. Everything
Yeah.
I did. I was an athlete, growing up. Obviously, like the psychology of things, but that's on training. That's afterwards. It was just I want to do the coolest moves and like the coolest spots and all that shit. But that just comes with time. If you stop being a mark and stop being Dylan, you know.
What are some of the memories of your first matches?
Oh my God! If anybody, dude, if you guys want to YouTube, I think it's
Was it IHW?
IHW. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
Sackville or Sussex or I don't know. It
Yeah.
was Mr. Schwab versus Sidewinder, also known as Nick Teeth, 16-year-old or 17-year-old Sidewinder, and I had
In better shape than everybody.
everybody. Yeah, dude, that didn't make any fucking sense. His biceps like boom,
Yeah.
but I hope he's listening to this because he looks like shit now. So
He's told me that. Poor guy. He's still like he's probably like 21 now or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like
He was like
19.
4 back
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
No, he's like 26 now, 27. So it's hitting him that
Yeah.
he's becoming an adult. He's like, okay, I gotta start doing things. It's awesome. Like again, I rant, but the first Wrestle Center show, Nick Teeth was there. You were you at that show?
That's the only one I
The only one
missed. Yeah.
yes, okay.
No.
But he's like, dude, I'm fat. I'm like, yeah, you are. He's like, okay. So he brought a corset. So I was tying up his corset in the back in the locker room. He's like, come on, get it tighter. Everything's hanging out of like inside.
That's hilarious.
Wonderful. What was your question?
What was memories of your first match?
Oh yeah. So if you YouTube Mr. Schwab versus Sidewinder, you see I had long like Jesus hair, um, baby, super baby face, no tan, which is my thing. I know I can't tan, so I had a cut off Iron Maiden shirt and biker shorts with no legs, like minus. If I'd be like a wrestler on like a WWE game, or whatever, I'd be like -8 legs. You know what I mean? And I had like really long forearms that I call biceps. It was just like one long forearm the whole way out.
Yeah.
Really good. Uh,
We were all
yeah,
that
yeah.
way.
Well, you're still there, so that's good. It's good. um, shit, I was gonna say something now, but I forget. I don't know. Whatever. Next question.
When did you first hear about IHW starting up, and what was your involvement?
Wait, I want to go back to that match. The reason for many years
Okay.
I wore a shirt, and a lot of people, obviously, I would assume have noticed. I wore a shirt for like probably 3, 4 years when I first started until I
Yeah,
can't.
you changed into a pleather shirt at one
Dude,
point.
yeah, different colored pleather shirt. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I was retarded. I was retarded. But the reason was it was because like probably people have noticed that I have when I was young, hot water fell all over my chest and stuff. So half of my pec, like my left back, yeah, my right back, left back, this pec is all burnt up. It's all like third-degree burrs or whatever in the bit of my arm. So I'm not saying I was ashamed of it, but obviously I was. Looking back, if I wasn't wearing a shirt, I mean, I always had back in the day, I always had like an 8 pack and all that shit. And I just kind of kayfabed it because of the berm. But when I came back as an adult, I was like, hey, fuck it. I look better than all these guys. So whatever. So, question?
When did you first hear about IHW starting up, and what was your involvement?
Um, well, like I mentioned a while ago, something I met him through an ex-girlfriend that used to work with him at St. Hubert's, which is a chicken joint in Moncton, New Brunswick, which Titus still works there, which is fucking hilarious. 18 years later. Um, so I met them through an ex-girlfriend that used to work there. We clicked right away, started drinking and 420 and all that stuff. And so, they mentioned that backyard wrestling stuff, and they had a show, um, uh, a couple weeks after I met them. Like, do I want to be involved? Like, yeah, everybody wants to get involved. I'm like, I really do. And then so they put me on as like an announcer or something. So I became Victor E. Suave, the announcer for one night, and I don't know what I did, but that's kind of how I heard of them. It was still Irish Town hardcore wrestling, and then afterwards, after the Sussex were sacked for the first show, after the training and stuff, they kind of started trying to be legit. Try to bring guys like Gary and guys from outside, even like Marco Estrada and all those guys. So that's kind of how I heard of them through an ex girlfriend. Weirdly enough, thanks ex girlfriend that has a been and is not happy. Too sweet.
Did you think they'd still be around after 10.5 years?
You look like back in the day, no, but when I look back at it, yes, because even like they were marks, obviously, but they wouldn't let anybody come in and a lot of people were like, yeah, pay me this amount of money, I'll come in and I'll run things. They're like, no, we'll figure it out. We're keeping our costs low so we don't blow our wads, and which you listening, if you're a fucking promoter and you're like, oh, I'm gonna spend $15,000 on my next show. Mm-mm, mm-mm. What happens if nobody shows up? It happens. So don't do it. So they kept their costs low at all times and just kind of build up, build up, build up. And so you went through lows, went through highs, went through lows, but the money was always there where, okay, well, if they took a hit for a couple months, then they could still kind of keep afloat with the money that they made. So at this point, their cost is a little higher because they they um, they book all local talent, but they pay them premium price. You know, if you go to if you talk about anybody, people have some shitty to say about every company except for IW. Well, maybe Peter Smith at one point, like a couple times, probably say fuck IW, but you know how he is. You know how he is. But you know what I mean? Like most people, I would say 95% of people would be like you know, pro IW because they treat their guys so well. You know, you come in, you get paid, and they'll, you know, even if they don't draw anything, they'll still pay you. Like once, I remember I was living in Quebec and we came down, and it was a big snowstorm, and we were halfway there, and they called us up. It's like, yeah, we're gonna cancel the show, and we're like, okay, shit. You know, we drive back, and they, you know, email transferred or whatever, email transfer at the time, whatever it was. But you know, they still paid us all our money. You know, that's just IW. Who else would do that? So, you know, that you know they have a very a good ethic of like you know of how to treat their boys. You know what I mean? And so that's I think that's why sometimes like we have like oh we have one spot or we're gonna have a Royal Rumble. You always see like there's like 25 of the boys that are trying to get booked that are there just kind of
Yeah.
hanging out. You know what I mean? It's like hoping for a spot. You don't get there. You don't get that elsewhere. So I think it's pretty cool. I love ISW. I would choose them over anybody. I don't give a fuck.
I,
And we're back.
and we're back. In 2006, you worked for me at the third Maritime Cup. What are your memories of that show?
At the time, that was the biggest show I've ever been a part of. You obviously, I don't know if you have the real numbers, but there must have been like from 600 to 800 people in that spot, right?
Yeah, there was just over, well, paid, there was just over 900. And actually,
Wow.
there was close to 11 because we gave out a ton of comps to radio stations and everything, too.
Yeah. Wow. Dude, that was great. I remember you know that's always been my kind of I was looking back at it and like if ever I would run a show I would run a show like that. You had burlesque, you had the guys from the Trailer Park Boys. I mean it was just like whatever venture like whatever your interests are, like if you like naked girls you had naked girls, if you like Trailer Park Boys which everyone likes Trailer Park Boys, you know, it's like you would like that as well. So, and plus wrestling, and plus a lot of big names, not big names, but it's a good, the whole tournament thing is a good, great gimmick, you know, great gimmick.
We
So
didn't have any names.
I
We
know that's what I'm
had we
saying.
had Bobby Roode, but he was
Yeah.
unadvertised because he came in on like 3 days' notice.
And that's amazing, man. That's great.
Yeah.
The whole, yeah, the whole cup aspect is a great gimmick if done well. You know, it can be like, hey, Bruce, look, that's Bruce, by the way. Say what up, Bruce. All right, get out of here. Beat it.
What?
Yeah.
There goes my ratings. Like, what are you?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
no. And without Sarah Dunsworth, that show wouldn't have been half
she's
fucking
great.
at all what it was. Right? She opened so many doors for us that were never opened before and haven't been open since. You know?
Well, I mean, you were more like you promoted that show, so you would know more. But I know that Sarah, I know Sarah very well, and
Yeah.
she's a really great person. So, she would definitely do anything she could to help. Obviously,
Yeah, no, she's the one that promoted it with me, right? And she took
yeah.
care. There was so much stuff she did. It was unreal. I mean,
Did she have any involved in that, or was that all you and some of the boys, or how?
that was
What
just
was
me.
that?
That was just me and Sarah.
So just you and Sarah. So that's why. See, even after all these years, you don't have a job, and that's why. Because Maritime Cup 3, still living off that fucking money.
Yeah,
New Scott.
that's right.
All right,
Um,
buddy.
during
Let
that,
me. Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. During that show, you had a match with Tony Armstrong, and he busted you open a little bit there. What are your memories of that?
Well, he was, you know, MMA was just starting, and he was a bit of an MMA mark at the time. So, oh, I'm gonna take you down and throw some elbows. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then he actually threw elbows. Boom, boom, boom. Like, fuck, what the hell? Then he armbarred me. Like, sweet Tony Armstrong. But it was a very good match at the time. That was probably my favorite match at the time. I was probably only a year in after that. I think because after that, I moved to Quebec to pursue wrestling. Womp womp. Um, but I like Tony a lot. At first, he, you know, when we first broke in, we were all marked. He was a mark too. He might not admit it, but at the time he was super marked out. And he acted a certain way where we had an altercation at one point for no reason, just because I think you were there. You were in the fucking van.
I was the one that jumped between you guys. And back then, I would have died.
Yeah,
um,
dude. Yeah, but there's some.
what are your memories of that?
I
When he
don't,
tried to push you through the van.
but I don't even remember what was the cause of it. Like maybe you would remember, but I really have
I was in
like
the driver's seat of Krista's
uh,
van, and we were in the
yeah.
parking lot of the Sports Rock. And I don't know what caused it. I just remember him grabbing you and trying to push you through the van, and I was like, "Son of a bitch!" And
Oh
so
yeah.
I ran out around and tried to break it up, but you guys stopped it all. You guys sat next to each other in the van. 20 seconds later, like
But I think he was just trying to play the veteran card. I was talking to maybe Chris
everyone was
outside.
drunk. It was
Yeah, yeah, everyone's
but
drunk.
me.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah, dude, we're gonna drive it, dude. Um, I think I was talking to Krista maybe outside or Crystal, Purity Saint maybe, and
Yeah.
he told me to get in the van or something. I was kept talking and played the veteran card. Get in the van and try to push me in the van. I'm like, all right, pal, relax.
Yeah.
But dude, that was just Mark's being Marks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. One.
Go ahead, yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know what I was gonna say, man. I just rant. You have to cut me off because
All
I'm just.
right, all right. You mentioned that's around when you moved to Quebec. Had you wrestled in Quebec yet, or was that to come?
That was come a year after um, I started wrestling. Uh, I knew I wanted to do that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try, and I wasn't ready for it, obviously, but I wanted to gain experience, which is not a bad thing. So I moved to Quebec City and started wrestling with the boy Mark because I knew Marco Estrada. Marco moved to Quebec, and we hit it off right off the bat when we first met, and he hooked me up to a couple places. But I remember I took all my shit and I moved to Quebec and I was like, okay. And I got there. He's like, yeah, come check out the show. I'm gonna wrestle at a show. So I get there and there's like 20 people in the audience. I'm like, okay. And I sit in the back and dude, the first match was like I was probably 185, 190 pounds at the time. I wasn't very big, but I was starting to get in shape. The first match, there was guys like they're 130 pounds with like lucha masks on, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I thought, okay, it'll get better, you know. Until the main, I noticed Pee Wee was at the show. I was like, okay, this guy's all right. There's a couple guys over Marco and remember Damian Steele. Remember him? Did
Yeah, yeah,
you?
yeah.
I don't think did he wrestle in the Maritimes
If
or
we're
no?
thinking of the same guy, he did. Um,
Big like southern he was obviously wasn't southern, he was from Quebec, but he was very much a Stan Hansen mark, so if you picture Stan
yeah,
Hansen, maybe.
I'm not sure. I do recognize the name, I think, but I don't remember. There's been so many guys that have come through here once or twice.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. So anyway, I was like, oh my God, but I was there already and moving my shit, so I was like, okay. So I stayed there. I ended up staying there for like fucking 5 or 6 years. And I remember wrestling in Montreal, and just again, I I think it was a bad. I know back looking at it now, it was a good move and a bad move. Good move where you know, okay, I picked up and left, which is a great, it's a great experience, and it's hard to pick up and leave. But so I did it. But the bad move where I had guys like Peter Smith and Gary Williams here and Mike Hughes and all the guys that could have helped me out. The guys that actually made a living off it, and that helped guys. So that kind of um, um, you know, stopped my learning process a little bit, and I became a little kind of a spot mark for a couple of years. Um, but looking back, it's fine. Looking back, I mean, I don't regret anything I've ever done. So, mm.
What were some of the promotions you worked for when you were in Quebec?
Excuse me. IWS in Montreal. Excuse me. It's still we just started over again. International Wrestling Syndicate, very much hardcore. But see, I would go there and not do hardcore. You know what I mean? And that would get over. Almost the promoters almost didn't get it. You know what I mean? But I remember one of their biggest shows. Me and Marco were tag teaming against 2.0, Jagged and whatever Matt. I don't know their real name. Their gimmick. I don't know whatever. Um, Jagged and Shane, I think is what it is. Anyway, and everybody's doing crazy hardcore, and we went out there and like old school, like oh shake hands, like I promise we're hardcore, we're hardcore soldiers and blah blah. Shake hands, kicking the derby, kicking the stomach, and all that shit, And people ate it up. People were on their feet. We got people kicked out. Yeah, people were throwing shit at us. You know what I mean? I'm like, there you go. So that was fun. I wrestled for R2W at the time in Quebec City. They were pretty big. We started. That was the first show I've ever seen with 20 people. And again, I'm not patting myself on the back. When I came in, I was like, little by little, when people start to know me, I'm started implementing things that I've learned from the boys back home. And by the time uh, the owners just didn't get along with the booker, and they just kind of folded. But by that point, the guys they were drawing like four to 600 people a show, so that was really cool. And other than that, I mean, just local promotion. I remember I used to wrestle like 2 or 3 times a week there, just like spot shows and shit like that. I got a good story. So it's a shit story. Shit stories are always good.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
go ahead.
Always good. So I'm wrestling in like butt fuck nowhere. Hey Bruce, butt fuck nowhere in Quebec, and it's a country western festival. And if you know anything about Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling, I just had a conversation with Bobby Bass, not Bobby Bass, Buddy Lane. I saw Buddy Lane in Vegas.
Oh
Me and
yeah, yeah.
Buddy
I
Lane like chatting for like hours, like just fucking. Oh, I
Me and
remember me from
Peter
back.
ran into him at a bodybuilding show here in Halifax, just completely out of the blue. Me and Peter are standing in line. Up comes Buddy Lane.
Dude, he lives in Halifax.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
Um, oh shit. See? Oh yeah, yeah, there you go. So Sonny Warcloud used to wrestle with Grand Prix Wrestling.
Hmm.
Did the obviously the Native American gimmick. He's from Quebec, super French, and he used to run every year like a country western, and they do that like super nowhere, little town, and they used to draw like 2,000 people, legit, and Quebec's very spotty, and I'm looking at this. Okay, I'm going to somewhere where they never see wrestling. They see wrestling once a year, and you're gonna go out there and do a million spots, and people are gonna sit on their hands and talk and be on their phones. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. So I came out as the English guy. They gave me a random manager, which turned out to be, Speedball Bailey. Turned out to be not him, but his girlfriend at the time,
Oh, okay.
and until recently. And she was kind of a worker ish. But I'm like, you know how I am. Like once I'm on the curtain, don't give me manager because I'm going right there. I'm gonna start yelling at people, and especially when people don't know me, I'm gonna get right in their face and get their attention, make sure that they, whatever. So I got out there. I'm the only English guy out there, so I'm going out there, no music, wow, wow, in their face, just boom, boom, 2,000 people on their feet, wanting to kill me right off the bat before the other guy even comes out. I'm like, this is gonna be easy, perfect. So I have to remember that we're wrestling under a huge tent. There's horses, a horse stable on the other side. There's cows. I mean, this is like butt fuck nowhere. You know what I mean? This is like Farmville, Canada, and I was gonna say USA, man. So even forget who I wrestled. I don't even remember who I wrestled. It's not even important. I wrestled, boom, 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 boom. He goes over. Or do I go over? Whatever happens, one of us goes over. I'm in the ring. There was a spot beforehand where my valet runs in the ring, and because they wanted her to do something, so boom, she got bumped or whatever, and she was sitting like a tree of woe in the corner still. After the finish, I'm walking around, blah, 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 I'm still doing my thing, yelling at people. People are on the feet. I got 2,000 people just like wanting to kill me. All of a sudden, I see a bag come from my side, like I'm like, what the hell is that? So I dodge it and it lands in the middle of the ring, and it's a big bag of shit. Boom! And it,
Oh man.
and it, it explodes in the ring, and people are popping. Yeah! I'm like, oh! I walk around. I'm like, I'm gonna bump in the shit. I'm gonna take a bump in the shit. I'm psyching myself up. I'm like, so again, remember, my manager dodged the shit. Thankfully, she's still sitting in the tree of woe, like backwards from the corner, in the ring. So I'm walking around, I'm psyching myself up. I'm like, I'm gonna bump in the shit. The crowd's gonna go crazy. I'm wearing a shirt at the time, so it doesn't matter. So I'm walking around. I get to the shit. Boom. I get to the shit. I put my foot in the shit. I go to slide, and I lose my shit. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna bump. so I don't bump. I just slide my foot right through the shit, but the shit goes flying onto my manager. Boom, right in the
Oh,
face, right all over. I'm like, oh, and the crowd just popped. I'm like, that was even better. That was fine. I just gotta clean a bit of shit off my boot and yeah, clean
that's
yourself.
hilarious.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's my shit story. Ask to anybody listen, if ever you go talk to Julian Young, ask him about his shit story. The best shit story around.
I'll have to ask him about that when I interview him.
Yeah.
In 2007,
Mhm.
Wrestling Reality was announced, and they were going on a tour. Were you contacted to go on that tour?
Yes, I was. What do you mean was I contacted? You know this, NewScott. Get out of here.
No, the viewers want to know.
Ah, okay, okay. Yes, I was. I was in Quebec City and I was contacted. Um, me and Marco were actually, and they offered us something, and whatever you heard might be a side of the story, but I was offered something that just wasn't, it just wasn't. I mean, I'm not going to go down and work, and okay, maybe it was national television. And looking back, would I have loved to do it? Yeah, of course, I would have been awesome. Um, but I was doing fairly well in Quebec at the time. I was paying my bills, and to come down, I mean, they offered something. It just wasn't good for me at the time, and we declined. And it was made out to be a bigger deal than it was because I declined. Me and Marco both declined. We were living with each other at the time. Like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna work over here and make hundreds of dollars, or go back home and lose hundreds of dollars. So it was like sometimes you gotta roll the dice. I know it's national TV, but ended up that it was fine. So quick story on that one. But P got mad at P got P dude. He's been mad at me so many times. It's all right.
You stopped wrestling for a few years at one
Yeah.
point. Why did you stop?
Um, I was still in Quebec and I was just tired of it. I didn't like where it was going. There was so much drama, and which you would know, there's so much drama in wrestling, backstage wrestling sometimes, which, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was tired of the whole thing. And so I just said, the hell with it. I was done. And I say I was done, but I was still doing managing. I was managing Marco at the time. That's pretty much like the best time of my fucking life. We had such a good time. And then after R2W folded, I was like, I'm done. I was done for I think 2 years, and I moved back to the Maritimes, and of course I'm gonna call up Julie and Titus because of my boys. I went to the show, and I'm like, okay, maybe I could do some commentating. I did some commentating, and then they're like, well, how about you manage something? Okay, I'm like, can I choose who I manage? Like, yeah. And we had this awesome spot where they had the wrestling Spider-Man. I don't know if I don't think you know this, but or you remember this, but you probably do. Um, Wrestling Spider-Man was Brian McKay. He wrestles, Brian McKay. He does reffing, and
Yeah.
he wrestles in St. John for the Bullet stuff. I don't know, Vendetta, Frankie Vendetta, I think his name, or something of the sort. Um, so he was doing the wrestling Spider-Man for years. He was at wrestling school with us. He was doing that wrestling Spider-Man gimmick for years. And I was like, give me the spot where I'm gonna say at the next show, I'm gonna pick my uh my protege or whatever the hell. And they said, okay, cool. And they had a four-way with Spider-Man, Narcissus Saint, and two other guys, whatever they may be. And that was an elimination match. It ended up being Narcissus Saint and Spider-Man, the last two. Alexander Saint goes over, one, two, three. And then I get in the ring. I shake Saint's hand and then but guide him outside of the ring. He's like, okay, thanks. Okay, bye. Then I start talking to Spider-Man. I'm like, that's enough. Enough of this Spider-Man stuff, blah, blah, blah. He ends up taking the hood off at Brian McKay, the ref. People pop and people went insane. And then I did that for a couple months. And the first pop we got was great. And then it kept going. But I love Brian very much, but I don't think his head was in it at the time. So it's hard very much to motivate other people. It's hard for me anyway, because I'm like, just do it, man. Just go to the gym, just do these things, because I do them. So why shouldn't anybody else do them? So it didn't work out. I mean, I love Brian McKay like a brother, so I'm never gonna, shit on him. He's still, I think, the best. Not, I think, I know he's the best ref I've ever worked with ever. Some people are meant to be wrestlers. Some people, if he's more comfortable as a ref, dude, awesome. That's the way to do it.
Definitely.
Um, so I ranted. I don't even know what the question was. I'm gonna keep going. Yes, that's right. after that, I was like, I'm in shape. I was probably 190, 195 at the time, but I was ripped. Like I was doing P90X multiple times a week, and I was like, cut like I've never been. So I wasn't big, but I was agile. So so I came back, and I remember I came back as I didn't want to be Mr. Suave, Joshua Arrow, because I, I mean, I could have, and a lot of people were pushing for it, like, God, just be that. People know you by that, but I've never been. I'm like, that's not who I am. I can't play that character anymore because that's just not who I am. I'm not gonna come out and like suave and all, So I came out. I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I was like, okay, just call me by my real name, and which is Eric Doucette. Okay, fate and just call me by my real name and let's just go from there. I'm not sure where this will take me. I'm not sure how it'll work, but let's just so I did that. I came back and they wanted to throw me in the main event right away, and I was like, nah, 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 let's not do that. So I just I think the first show I worked Canadian Idol and all that stuff, and a lot of people were pissed that I didn't want to be like, make a big deal of the comeback, but I just wasn't ready. So, not to be a mark over myself, I was just gonna start back from the first. So, whatever your question was, that's the answer.
Okay. When you came back to wrestling,
Mm.
you seem to have improved 1,000% at this point. Your in ring work, your promo, character wise, everything. Why do you think that was? You were
I
you
don't
were a
know.
completely different wrestler from when you left, from then when you came back.
I agree.
In my opinion, anyway.
Well, I agree as well. I have no idea why. I think I grew into myself. I saw yeah for a long time. I suffered with like anxiety and all that stuff, and truthfully, I just in my
The
oh
phone took a
God.
bump.
um not to put my own gimmick, like the vegan gimmick over, but it's what I am. And I was a vegetarian for many years. I just didn't know how to eat, and I think that attributed to a lot of my anxieties and stuff. And that probably one of the reasons why I got out of wrestling too. But when I came back, I had my food like where I wanted to be, which made me feel better. Um, and gave me a confidence where I'm like, I can do this and I can be better. My confidence is through the roof. You know what I mean? Like I don't have people say call it ego, whatever, but I'm confident in myself. You give me any challenge, I'll do it, and I'll be better at it than anybody. That's just kind of how I am at this point in my life. Um, so when I came back, I had that mentality, and and I wasn't a mark anymore. I wasn't a move mark, and I was like, okay, how can I make these matches better? Why am I doing these things? And listen to the crowd instead of listen to my head and be like, oh, I want to do this. So I went out there with an open mind. Man, I'll give Lincoln Steenson a lot of credit. When I worked him in PEI, I think it was my first or second match back, second match, I think. And I was really nervous because I was going to be a baby face. And
That's when you
like
got the name Marcus Burke too, right? At that
that
show. Yeah,
exactly where I got
I
the name
filmed that
Marcus.
match. Yeah.
Ah, there you go. You did. Yeah. It's still online somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Um, So, I was a baby face, and I remember just work. We didn't call everything was called out in the ring except for the finish, and it was a great match. We had the people on the feet, which I mean, it's PI, so all you have to do is tell a story, and that just reinforced it reinforced the thought that I could do this in a way where don't be a mark for like if you look at my matches now, I don't have many moves, but I know where to place them, and 9 times out of 10, I'll have the match of the night. So it's about the psychology of things. A lot of kids, which I was very much like that as well. Say, oh, my stuff's not getting over. Let me add more moves to my stuff, which is the opposite of what you should do. If you can get a headlock over or arm drags or whatever the fuck you want to do, if you can get that little thing over, then wait till you fucking do a big move, then it's gonna explode. So I have no idea how I got better at the time. I don't know why. I think I grew into my body a little more, and I got more just more life experiences. And again, going back to my food, uh, how to eat properly for me, that was a big thing. That was huge.
You talked about that match with Steen. I think that was 2012. I remember going out back, and I was like, that match was fantastic. And I was like, Peter, did you see that match? And he was like, no, but I heard the crowd, and that's all I need to know. And
Yeah,
that you guys had that crowd. It was one of the best matches at that point that they probably had ever seen, and they ate it up like crazy. It's good.
thanks. Thanks, man. I appreciate that very much. I remember having them in the palm of our hand and be like, this is awesome, you know.
Yeah.
And again, we didn't plan anything.
No, I know. That's the thing.
You know, and it was good where the finish was just a fucking FU, you know what I mean? His DVD,
DVD.
you
Yeah.
know, that we just were like, maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do this, and we'll end up in here, or maybe we'll do that. But we just listened to the crowd. If we went somewhere, they didn't do it, they weren't there, then we turn around but thankfully, everything we did was just kind of a build up to the finish, and it was good. So thanks,
Yeah.
I appreciate the compliment. It was a game changer for me as well.
In 2014, I advertised the first ever Wrestle Center show on Facebook. You contacted me to find out who was running it. I gave you Jason's info. What were your initial conversations with him like?
Um, well, he didn't know who I was. He was more like he had no idea, but which is fine. I mean,
Yeah.
who the fuck am I, especially at the time? Um, and I contacted him, and I was like, "This is who I am. This is kind of what I'm trying to do." I was just very new with the vegan gimmick. I just did it off. We're kind of skipping ahead. The Marcus Burke in PI was not like vegan. He
No,
wasn't
it
that guy at
wasn't
all.
at all.
It was
No.
super baby face. Yeah, blue eye baby face. Come on,
Fire up.
fire up. And um, before I go to the wrestling thing, I did a tour with Clarky in Newfoundland, and I always had this idea since I came back. You know, I had music and all that stuff, and I was telling the boys like, I'm gonna come out to no music. I don't want to do this music thing anymore. And be like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, you're not 6'8" and like, oh, you're not Russian. You're not gonna sing your national anthem or anything. I'm like, just don't worry about it. Just let me do it. And it took like, dude, it took like months to a year to just to convince people. But I went to Newfoundland and I did it. And even the promoter Clark, I went to Newfoundland the other day and he was taking credit for my no music thing. And I remember, dude, he was like, he gave me music. And even I'm like, don't give me any fucking music. And he'd sneak in like music, like low music, so like barely anybody could hear, but I still had music. I'm like, you motherfucker, just cut the music out completely. And finally, he did a couple times at the end, and then that's been it for me after that. So I contacted Jason Moser, and it was still very much at the beginning. So I didn't have this. It was very much like, "Hey guys, I'm a vegan. I'm better than you," you know. So I contacted Jason Moser, and he said, "Yeah, come in for this amount of money." I'm like, yeah, "All right, I will because it's new. It's fine. I'm cool with it." And me and Julian had a match. They put us opener, which is weird if you don't know somebody and you're gonna put them opener, but it's okay. We killed it. And so we opened the show. It was a nice crowd. I forget what was the main event for that. Who did they bring in?
I
Anybody?
think it was AJ Styles and JP.
No, no.
No,
AJ was not the first show.
wasn't that the first show?
No, it might have been Christopher Daniels against. Mm, fuck, I'm gonna have to look back. I don't think it was AJ Style. Maybe it was AJ. I think you're right. You're probably right. If anybody would know, you would know,
I
dude.
think it was. I'll try and look it up right now and see what happens.
Okay.
But just keep talking.
Yeah, yeah. Really? Me? Okay, I'll keep ranting. So I remember having that match. That match went really well. I would go looking back. I would definitely change a few things. Um, but went real well. The fans liked it. A lot of fans from Halifax didn't know who I was at the time, so that was good for me. We went out there, we killed it. We had a good ovation. I think I was a heel at the time. Yeah, I was. He went over, and that was it. And then they kept bringing me back, so that was good. I was very happy with how that went through. And for me, I'm never worried about getting over. You know, it's like it's always a process for me, and that was a really quick process. A lot of people like usually I go, it's always the same thing. I come out, I do my stick, and people are like, okay, who the fuck is this guy? Then I wrestle. They're like, okay, this guy's good. By the end of it, it's very short because people are paying attention to what I'm doing. I very much noticed that. And then by the end of it, okay, well, I want to see this guy again. And then I come by the third time, I'm super over. By the third time, I'm either super heel. They know the gimmick. They know what's gonna happen. They know my shtick. I come out like this. They do this, or if they're gonna, they change like so. It's kind of a process where if I can get 3 shows at a promotion, forget about it. I'll sell you tickets. I'll sell tickets for you.
I just found the poster. I think if it was the March 6th show, which looks like their first show, it was AJ and JP.
JP. You're probably right.
Josh
You're
is
probably
on the poster, and Coco Rose is on the poster.
nice. Yeah, it's probably it's probably the first show.
Yeah. Um, what were your thoughts of their first couple of shows? That them bringing in big names like AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels and all those guys.
Um, that was a good first show. You know, why you sending me photos, Harold?
It's the poster to see if that was the first one.
Take that away from me. Great. Um, that was good, like a good first show because you brought people in with AJ. I thought that the boys did a good enough job that you didn't have to bring many names afterwards, because what happens is if you keep bringing names every show, big names, and then have Samoa Joe run out like unannounced and AJ Styles run in unannounced, and people are going to expect a lot. You know, by the fifth show, oh, we have John Morrison. John Morrison. You know, it's like fucking hell. You know, like okay, well, we just saw Samoa Joe against Christopher Daniels, and then before that was AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels and Lance Storm versus this and blah blah. And the six seven show, it's John Morrison's coming in, or Michael Logan, Jake the Snake, I don't want Jake the Snake. Why the fuck would I care about Jake? You know, so um, you know, I think that it's called hot shot in the business. We call it when you give them too much too soon. But again, I like a lot of people give heat to Jason and Tyler. But I don't mind. Like I like Jason. We've had good conversations. Is he a bit of a mark? Yeah. I mean, he hasn't been in the business for very long, but he has and I don't mean market, in a bad way. It's just he hasn't been in the business for very long, and it's kind of he's trying out things. He's whatever. Right? The more work there is for the boys, the better. Is he like they're fucking up in a lot of ways now where a lot of boys won't work for him anymore, because the way they were treated, or they can say they fired him or whatever the case may be. So I think they do have to change a few things. And hopefully, like I talked to Jason, I hope he takes my advice once in a while because again, I like him and he gives a lot of good opportunities to the boys to fight guys from outside and all that stuff. But I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Like TCW is doing wonderful. You know what I mean? They got all the boys now, so hopefully that can get over. UCW is always going to run shows, so there's a lot of work for guys out there. The only thing is, well, if you work for this guy, you can't work for me. If you work for this, that's just that's been around forever. Whatevs.
When did Wrestle Center tell you that they were going to go with you as their IHWC champion?
Oh, I can't recall, man. I'm not like a belt mark, a belt mark. I don't need a belt. I rarely have belts. If they have belts, we'll have a conversation about it. It's like okay, you know, and I just feel like if I have a belt, I have to be like you have to pay me a certain amount of money because I'm not saying I have a lot of opportunities, but if something comes up where I can go to Toronto or like right now, I just got an opportunity that I'm going to go on the West Coast, which I can't talk about too much, but so if I'm somebody's champion and there's a date on the same day where I can go travel somewhere and experience new things and make a lot more money, you know, but I'm the champion, so I feel like I'm obligated to this promotion right here. So it's kind of a thing where, I don't always agree to be champion for somebody. I don't never, I don't push for it. But they gave me this opportunity, and they treated me really well to that point. I mean, like, okay, listen, we're gonna get you to fight, dude. After I got that belt, I worked Michael Elgin, John Morrison, I forget who, Speedball Bailey. It's like, if the opportunity is good, I'll definitely take it. But it was a quick conversation. I think it was like, this is what we want. What do you think? We're gonna get you to work these guys. I was like, yeah, yeah, definitely, I'll do that. But I think, yeah, that's it.
What are your thoughts on the ladder match you had with Julian? That was voted match of the year in whatever year that was, 2014, I think. What are your thoughts on that match?
uh, Man, I felt that match for months afterwards.
I bet.
Yeah, and it's on. Just go back and watch if anybody. It's online, and if anybody wants to go watch it, Julian Young versus Marcus Burke ladder match. And I love that match because we set it up where everything was built up. Like it wasn't, we didn't grab the ladders and start using them right away. And then what are you going to use at the end? We built everything up where we had a table spot. We had like we had we had ladders, chairs, tables. I think that's it. But we built those up. And by the time it was time for the table, people were calling for tables. Get a table, get a table. And it was the next spot was a table spot.
Hmm.
It was like that's how you're building a match correctly, where people are like, oh, please do this, and you're like, that's what we're doing next, homie. They're like, we got you, we
We
got you,
got them. Yeah.
we got 'em. So, and I again, so we built up all that stuff. We have some fun stuff, nothing overly crazy. Well, I mean, the last spot was nuts, but we had this elaborate spot where I'm surprised nobody stole this yet. Somebody's gonna steal it, but we came up with it first, where we set up the table reverse in the corner, and we gimmick the leg. Oh, the leg's broken. They're like, oh, people are like, boo. Like, okay, but that's a setup, right? And we boom. So he falls through the reverse table, boom, and then that's just fucking, because people aren't expecting you to go through a reverse table with all the fucking spiky
Yeah.
metal shit. So props to Julian, he's a fucking machine. He was busted up open, like
Yeah.
fuck, like so bad. But he took the bump. But what happened was we were both on top of ladders, fighting, 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 fighting. He knocks me off. I lift the ladder. He goes through the table, but the ladder fell around his head afterwards and cut him right open like a deep gash. He was just bleeding all over the place. But dude, yeah. It's hard for me like, oh, what's my favorite match? That was definitely my favorite gimmick match that I've had. Like with tables or ladders. I haven't done many of them because they're shitty, but but that was definitely my favorite by far. I think we killed it. That I think you could put that match in anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's WWE or ROH or TNA or Lucha Underground or fucking whatever. I think that would get over everywhere.
Definitely. You got to work with a lot of great talent when you were the champion, and even after you lost the title. Michael Elgin, John Morrison, Speedball. You just mentioned all those guys. What were your thoughts on getting to work with those guys?
Awesome. John Morrison was super awesome. It's like we clicked right away. We met each other like boom. All right, besties. All right, we got it. And we're talking about back. We had a great time. We clicked in the ring too. Everything was just spot on. He's a great worker, so it was very easy for me to work with him. And Speedball as well. I thought we killed it. I think he was a little apprehensive of working me. He's very much like a American indie guy, but I've been around for a little while. So I remember like calling spots. He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Trust me, man." Like one spot, I'm like, "Boom, I did this." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this." I'm like, "No, no. After we do this, double down. Just lay there for a little bit. Trust me. We'll get a this is awesome chant." He's like, I'm like, "Just trust me, dude." And then boom, we did it. Like, this is awesome. I'm like, "You're welcome." We kept going with her shit. So, but he was awesome. I love a speedball. It was very unfortunate what happened to him. I don't know if anybody, it's not kayfabe at this point, but he got caught at the border. He can't go in the States for 5 years.
Yeah, it's online that happened.
Yeah, and that sucks. And that that was very much one of my worries. People ask me all the time, "Why don't you go to the States and wrestle?" Well, dude, first of all, it's expensive if they're not going to fly you out, which is very rare because who the fuck knows Marcus Burke, So you have to spend some of your money to go in the States and all that stuff. Um, and if you get caught, dude, I like the States. I like going on vacation.
Yeah.
I like Vegas. So not going anywhere for 5 years, that would basically mean it for any sort of big promotion, like for me to work for, first of all. And second, I like going there. So um, you have to be smart about it. And it's unfortunate that what happened to Mike Bailey, he's still young. So hopefully he can kind of, I don't know if you can shorten that sentence at all. I know he's trying to work on that. So hopefully for him that can work out.
Wanted to have a match with Steen in Wrestle Center. I refed that match. That match
Yeah.
didn't really turn out like either of you wanted to. Uh, what happened in that match?
Well, my point of view, I'll tell you my point of view.
Yeah.
Shoot interview. I love Steen. Like, Steen is one of my favorite people to hang out with backstage. He's super funny, super like, always joking. You know what I mean? We've taken showers together. It's good. Um, I I told him beforehand, the Wrestle Center style for me, it was very much like hard hitting, and it's my style. I like to be snug. I'm not gonna drop you on your neck, but I'll be snug with you. I expect you. I expect the same. I'm not scared. You know what I mean? Um, but I don't think he was expecting that much. I think I rung his bell a few times, and
You
that was
kicked
kind
him in
of
the face as soon as the match started.
oh, I mean, and that was it for him. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so I think he forgot a few spots, and again, I think I planned on if my on my in my fault. I had a few planned spots, and I shouldn't have. But it was such a big show. It was the Mick Foley show. I think there's 800
Yeah.
people, and they told me I'm working wrestling Lingenstein. I was happy, but in a way, I'm like, this might not be Steen's style. With 800 people, with all the matches that were going on that night, I'm like, we're gonna have to kill it. Because at that point, I was having the match of the night almost every night and
Yep.
doing cool things. And so I'm like, you're gonna have to bring it. He's like, yeah, I'm down, I'm down. And I remember that day, he was kind of kayfabe. Like, yeah, yeah, we'll talk about it later, kid. I'm like, all right, all right. But then that happened. It was what it was. I got upset in the ring a little bit, but
I
afterwards,
remember.
I mean, yeah. But afterwards, I mean, I love Steen, and I think he's a great worker. And it was just one of those matches where
Just
we could
didn't
have
work
done
that
better.
night.
Just didn't work that night. It was what it was. And looking back, I should have just fucking swallowed my pride and be like, all right, let's work together instead of trying to steal the show. And maybe things would have happened that way. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Wrestle Center built you up as their champion, and I'd say as the IHWC champion, You made that belt mean more than their heavyweight championship. But they seemed to take it off you without any sort of build-up.
Yeah.
Why did that happen?
Well, I'm always a professional where I told them that I was leaving in 6 months. Like from that, like in 6 months, I'm gonna be gone. Like I'm planning either going. My plan was going to. I got a call, and I was like, okay, like I'm going to Florida, um, which I can tell you, like I talked to some people at Evolve, and they're gonna put me up in an apartment and like share an apartment with other workers and camera guys or whatever. And I was gonna start on the indie like Florida scene, and then dark matches for Evolve, and then go from there. And I told him in advance, 6 months in advance, I'm like, listen, I'll just let you know this is what's going to happen. So, I can drop the title, whatever, to anybody. I pitched some cool stories. I can't remember now, but just, I'm like, let me put, like, I'm huge on putting guys over. You know what I mean? Like, let me make somebody, Nick Diggs. Yeah, sure. I'll make Nick Diggs. Like, let me beat him up or let me destroy him or do something and he comes back. I'll make him super baby face and whatever. And they're like, okay, let's see. And then the next show, like, okay, you're losing Nick Diggs clean in 8 minutes. I'm like, okay, like sure, whatever you want, man. I'll do that too. And I did. I think it was like we're like second and third match, whatever it was.
I
And I
think
made
it might have been first. It was really early on in the card.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
As boom, one, two, three, people pop it, surprise pop. Like, okay.
yeah,
Um, but they want like I remember at first they wanted me to lose like by his finish that he's never tried before, like the
yeah,
roll of dice. You know that roll of dice move
yep,
that Cody Rhodes does.
yep.
Boom. Um,
Crossroads.
The Crossroads, yeah.
Yeah.
Mark. Anyway, and um, I remember he's like, I'm not sure how to. I'm like, oh, if you're not sure, let's just do something. So I'm like,
Something
okay.
else.
He rolls me up. I go for my finish, rolls me up. It's more of a surprise too. One, two, three, powders out. I'm like, ah, you know, it's like they wanted him to be like super, like they want to be the Finn Balor of like super crazy and all that stuff. I'm like, whatever. So, point being, they took it off, and then I lost for 6 months to anybody and everybody. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have told you that I was leaving. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's the story behind that.
You were advertised at one point to have a match with JP Sims.
Mhm.
That match never happened. How
Yeah.
come?
Shoot, JB Sims doesn't want to work me. He's
Why?
scared. I don't know. He's scared. We worked a match before, it just went fine. Um, do I think he's a particularly good wrestler now? And I would. I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't kick him any harder in the head that I would anybody else. But he just seems to, prefer. I don't know. I really have no idea. I couldn't tell you. I have to ask him. He'll come up with some stupid story where something else, but we all know the truth. Like he just didn't want to work me because I worked the snug style, and I think he thought that I was going to beat him up in the ring because I think I told him at one point I was going to beat him up in the ring.
Well, you always write the stuff online that you're going to knee somebody in the face and
Yeah, yeah.
rip their skin off or whatever.
I'll wear
But
your skin, homie. Don't worry about it. No big deal. Um, but um, yeah, I have no idea, man. I really have no idea. He could be. I mean, he could be the champion and work tomato cans. That's cool. You know what I mean? They seem to like him as champion, so they feel like he's like the Cena, which I don't feel like. I think he has like like a tenth of Cena's talent and 1/100th of Cena's body. What's good though, like he's more like he can be like the common man, you know what I mean, with the fat gut and the little titties, and JP Sims, world champion. Too sweet.
uh, you left Russell. Did you do the Cape Breton Wrestle Center show, the first one with Jake?
Yes.
Yes, that was your last
Yeah.
show, right?
Yeah, of course. That's where Drake sold me on the Las Vegas idea.
Okay.
God,
I
fuck this Florida Evolve thing. Come with me. We got a lot of money here. You can learn from me. I'll be your mentor. It'll be awesome. Boop, boop. No?
in September 2015, you sort of had a falling out with Russell Center. They said something along the lines of that they made you into the star that you had become. What happened between you and Russell Center?
No, on my part, nothing. I really have no idea. You have to ask them. I've heard that many times, which I've never replied to because it's like, okay. I mean, they gave me a platform. You know what I mean? They gave me good wrestlers, but uh, I was gonna do my thing. I've been doing my thing for a long time. People, have been disregarding me, but first of all, take it. First of all, if they would have if I would have let them made me into what they wanted me to be. Like they pitched so many shitty things to me. Like I'd come out to the Lion King theme. I win away, I win away, I win away, I win away, I win away. That was legit. In the jungle. They wanted me to come out that theme song and be like, "You're the king, man. You're the king of the jungle. You come out that song, man. Everything's." I'm like, "You are retarded." I'm like, I'm not coming out to in the jungle, the fucking mighty jungle, or whatever the fuck. So,
That's all,
you know,
I wish you would have.
yeah, yeah. So, they pitched me a lot of crazy things. I'm like, come on, man. And but again, they gave me a platform but I gave them matches too. They say
Do
they
you
made me,
think
but
you'd
no
be
offense,
where you are right now without their platform?
uh, hmm. Let me ask you a question. Would they be where they're at right now without me giving the matches that I've given to them?
Right, and that's the way it is. Like, who's more important, Vince McMahon or Hulk Hogan? Do you know what I mean?
Hey, exactly,
Because
exactly.
without the platform, there's no Hogan. But without
Yeah,
Hogan, there'd be
no
no
problem.
wrestling,
Yeah.
right?
And no offense to like okay, if you think if they would put okay, AJ Styles versus JP Sims drew because AJ
Yeah,
Styles was there.
yeah.
If they would have put Daniels versus JP Sims and then Lance Storm versus JP Sims, Demundo and against JP Sims all the time, come on, do we would have had mediocre matches because those boys are good and they can make JP Sims look good instead of having two guys that are good and make fucking magic, And so again, where what I have been where I am, probably not. But for them, I don't think so either. So I think it's a give type of situation.
Yeah.
And
It's 50-50.
50-50. I mean, maybe 60-40 on their part, but I'll go with
Yeah.
it. I say 40%. I'll go with it. And but they've said some stuff about me like where I've read online people screenshot private conversations, which is so marked out, but it is what it is. Where they say like, "Oh, you're being suave." What's that? Like you're being, and they call me suave, like they're my pal, like my pals, um, because of merchandise. I take care of my own merch, because that's where we make a lot of our money.
Yeah.
Like I bought a new car. I sold last year. I sold over 200. I think it was 280 some shirt. And that's If I wouldn't have had that income, that you know, you need that stuff if you want to be a professional wrestler, if you want to make a living off that stuff. So they want to kind of brand me like, they want to brand everybody, but then sell them as Wrestle Center stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
make them make profit. But it's just like I get it, but you have to get it. You have to work something out with the boys beforehand. Anyway, whatever the fuck case may be. Again, I forget the question. I rant, dude. I rant all the time. Am I
No,
right?
you pretty much answered it. It was
Oh,
what happened between you
oh,
and Wrestle Center.
I don't know. I don't think anything. I think maybe they were working an angle, which is fine. They like to work like the oh, it's a shoot angle. So they could, I'm cool with it. I always told them, mention my name. You mention my name, go right ahead. Keep my name in the keep my name out there. I'm cool with it.
Would you go back?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. See if
If
they
the money,
contacted you, you'd go back.
yeah.
Awesome.
I'd go to TCW. I go back to TCW. I go to UCW. Then I
Wherever they
don't,
pay you, right?
I'm not a fucking mark for shit, man. They pay me. I'll go out there and give the audience, dude, that UCW show on April 30th. I don't know if this will be out before then,
It will.
but dude, uh, it's pretty much it's gonna be. Well, I know it's gonna be. They sold a lot of fucking tickets, and it's gonna be standing room only. So put yes, Hardy has a something to do with that. Obviously, it's Matt fucking Hardy, but so do I, homie. If you have Matt Hardy versus Dylan Sharp, get the fuck out of here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, no offense to Dylan Sharp. I'm kind of
What's up,
shooting on
poor
Dylan
Dylan?
Sharp
Hi,
there.
Dylan.
Hey, Dylan. It just so I know I can sell tickets. So if you want me, it's going to be a certain price, but I'll sell you your thing because you know what? I'll have the match of the night as the main event. I'll get the people in there. And I'm not friends with Matt Hardy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we had a short conversation and then he wants something different that I wanted. And I was like, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, I do my things the way I do them. If you're not happy, stay the fuck home. You're not going to come here and have an easy payday and be like, oh, I'm just going to come in. I'm going to come in and, it'll be easy match. No, man, we're going to go. And if you don't like it, it's too bad because you're going to be in the ring with me. You're going to have to go. So April 30th is going to be nuts, man. It's going to be crazy. Standing room only, 100%. Sell out. You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I get messages from people all the time asking about shows on the Maritime Wrestling page or the NewScott page. I got more attention or it got more attention for the Kentville show and the Spryfield show of anything that's been around here for a long time. Like, I was really surprised the attention the Kentville show got, but then when they announced it was you wrestling Matt in Spryfield, I was getting like 25, 30 messages a day for a while from people like, how do I get tickets? How do I get tickets? So it's going to be a huge night in Spryfield.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, man. I think the capacity, I'm not sure how much it is. You might be no more than I
It's a
do.
small room, but I think it like 350, 400 people will sell that place out. But
But yeah,
it'll look like 1,000. Like it's
yeah. And I think they're going to do standing room as well, where
yeah,
they're going to sit 400, but then have another 100 or 150 standing,
yeah.
and that's going to be sell it too. And some people are going to be very disappointed when they have to go home, so without a ticket. So to you who's listening to this, dude, get there early,
Get there
get a good
early.
seat, or get there really early because it's going to be a crazy fucking night.
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat. You know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna beat Matt Hardy, and I'm gonna become the number one contender for the TNA Championship. And I'm not even a part of TNA, so that's what's gonna happen. Suck it.
um, you sent in a WWE Tough Enough audition tape. Talk about the support from the fans you got from it, and did you hear anything from WWE?
Okay. Um, uh, just to say that the Maritime fans, uh, there's a lot of drama in the Maritime wrestling scene. Like, don't work here, don't work there, like we talked about before. But the Maritime wrestling fans are fucking awesome. They've supported me, and they've supported everyone that wants to do something with this. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're trying to be the best at something, they will support you. And it's unfortunate that a lot of more people don't try that because they will support anybody. I just noticed it. I gave my 120% to the fans, and they gave me the same thing in return. And it's a give take situation with us. And I promised them that every time I'm going to go out there, even if there's 20 or 100 people or 1,000 people, I'm gonna lay it all on the line, and they respect that, and I respect them because every time I ask something, that they give it. It was crazy. So the tough enough gimmick. The first night, I heard like Kevin Steen said, yeah, we were talking a little bit before this whole thing, and he's like, oh, yeah, there's tough enough things coming. I'm like, oh, I'll just send the video. And then I heard through the grapevine that all the contestants were pretty much picked already. They had this whole send your video, it was whole marketing thing, which is huge, which is a super smart idea. But I already knew this, but I was like, dude, if I can get picked up a little bit, that's free advertisement. I'm crazy. I'd be crazy not to do that. It's easy. It's a minute promo. I can do that in my fucking sleep. Uh, so I the first night I did it, and then I sent it, and the next day, like WWE retweeted it, and then I was like the front runner, like in the top 10 front runners to be on the show or whatever the fuck it was. They're just like, what the hell is going on? By the end of it, there was like 40,000 views. I was the most retweeted uh, hopeful that they tweeted by far. I
Mm.
had like, whatever it may be retweets. Um, so I was like, okay, well, this whole thing's a work, so that's fine, but hopefully I'll get some sort of feedback or some sort of tryout or anything. But they never did, man. They never sent me a message. They never did. It was that the whole tough enough thing I knew pretty much was a work. After, especially like midway through, I'm like, okay, this, they're gonna choose guys that don't have any experience. So, I had 9 years experience at the time. So there's no way. I'm very disappointed that all the work, like, dude, I got vegan is tough enough trending like on Twitter, like it was one of the top five for
Yeah.
the day for like a couple of days. Vegan is tough enough, and yeah, they never like asked, oh, who's this guy that got the vegan thing over? You know what I mean? Like, but they never reached out or anything, which is very disappointing. A lot of people, it opened on the good side of things. It opened a lot of doors to other uh, promotions that I wouldn't have worked for before, like Destiny in Toronto, and opened Evolve, which I didn't work for, unfortunately. But I got to New York because of it. So I got a lot of doors opened up for me because of it. So that was really cool. A little disappointed as well.
You mentioned Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens. Do you get along with him?
Yeah, ish, sometimes.
Ish, sometimes.
I mean, at this point, yeah, before we didn't, but at this point, dude, what can I say bad about him? Look where he is. What the fuck can I say? Truthfully, I never thought he would get to that point, and I still don't get him very much. Like he's a heel that does cool moves, but people think he's like, oh, he's like a real heel. I'm like, not really. If you're gonna, do top rope moves all the time and cool moves, and that's not really you're looking for pop. Like he comes out and like the smarks pop. That's not what I'm looking for as a heel. But that's cool. I mean, it's a new age of wrestling. It's cool. He gets over, so good for him. He still sells a lot of shirts, and so I can't. You probably own a shirt, Kevin Steen shirt, right?
I have a couple, yeah.
So
It's
you get
funny
it.
though.
Yeah,
I didn't.
get it.
I didn't really watch a lot of his stuff until he got to WWE, and then I
Oh,
went back and watched his indie stuff. I used to sell the IWS DVDs back in the day for them out here,
no,
and it's
no,
funny how it all came about. You know.
absolutely. And so you get him. So I don't get it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that other people can't enjoy it for what it is. He's obviously over. So there you go.
Yeah. Everybody's got a different flavor, right?
Absolutely. Fuck yeah. Can't hit on that. Except if you're a JB Simmons fan, because that's just ridiculous.
um, everyone knows now the story about you and Jake Roberts. But what was it that he told you that was good enough to take the you away from Evolve and go to Las Vegas with him?
Okay, so we're not gonna talk too much about it because it's like beating a dead horse.
It is,
And
but yeah,
yeah, I know, like, it's like, I don't dwell in the past. All the things that happened there, an experience for me. And, I still went to Las Vegas and I made my opportunities where, the good thing where, I wrestled in Vegas, got those bookings by myself, California, Utah, New Mexico, Texas. I got those opportunities because I put myself out there. The reason, because, dude, first of all, it's Jake Roberts, a quote unquote sober Jake Roberts. Um, I told him what was going on with Evolve, and he said, "Fuck that." There's a guy with a lot of money, and he's investing $45 million.
Was that the classic championship wrestling thing or whatever it was called, like the shoot
Well,
wrestling?
I can't. Yeah, I'm not gonna mention it because I
Yeah.
sold like
Shane
so
Douglas's thing.
I don't know. I have no idea. I have
Okay.
yeah, okay. But I didn't know the other guy was involved at the time. So I just thought, Jake was the mainstay. And I saw a video where Piper was involved at the time too. I don't know if you remember, there's a video back in the day where
Yep.
Piper was selling it and Animal was involved. Anyway, I'm not saying it's that company. I really have no idea. It's just, um, so, he sold me on that and it was just, I told him exactly what was going on. He's like, don't go there. You know what I mean? Come live with me, free of rent. I know I'm a professional. I'm an indie wrestler. I haven't had a real job in 4 years. I'm not a fucking millionaire. I got a new car. I lived in a nice apartment. It was all wonderful, but I had to wrestle to make ends meet. So I go up there with my savings in Canadian dollars
It's
and
like
then,
four cents.
cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
So, um, so, and then he starts. It was different tune. Well, the first minute I got there, I'm like, I fucked up. I completely fucked up. And I tried to call Evolve back, but the spot was filled, and they laughed at me. It's like, homie, I gave you a fucking apartment. Like I was gonna bring you in a room, and you canceled on me like 4 weeks before you came. No,
Yeah.
no fucking way. But I said, okay, well, I'm in Vegas. What the fuck am I gonna do? Am I gonna leave right away and say fuck it, or and go back home, or am I gonna make the best of it? I made the best of it in my own way, and even if he was a complete piece of shit and there's so many stories that I didn't. If you want to check out the Chael Sonnen podcast, I forget which episode it is. It's pretty recent.
I'll
It's
find
Markus
and
Burke.
I'll
You,
link it in here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, perfect. It's me and Nate Diaz. So I wasn't. It doesn't make
You
any fucking
did
sense.
you open for Nate Diaz? Was that the
No,
thing?
no, 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 no. Nate Diaz opened for me,
Right,
kid.
right, right, right,
Yeah.
right.
But I remember like calling in and they were under it was like in the middle of a commercial. So it was me, Nate Diaz and Chael Sonnen on the phone together for like a minute. I was like, okay.
Is this real?
It's live. Um, so I knew right away that he was, and yeah, there's so many stories that I'll never say other than, just hanging out with the boys, having a beer, and be like, holy fuck, he's just such a dude, such a piece of shit. Like, you have no idea. So, that was what it was. I made my own opportunities, and I even like, yeah, I even worked everybody. Like, I wouldn't answer my mom's phone calls because she would ask how it was, and she would be worried, and I'd be like, I didn't want to lie to anybody, you know what I mean? But I did lie. I went out there and I said, "Oh, Jim, he's at the gym and all that shit." And it was all work, None of it was true. He was sitting on his ass. He would go to the gym once a week for like 20 minutes and be like, Anyway, just just fucking. I don't even want to talk about it. Sorry.
Have
I
you
guess
talked to him since?
yeah. He said he was gonna sue me for defamation of character. And then I said, "Am I gonna have to pay for your lawyer, or how's that work?"
um, you appeared on a Ring of Honor show. Was it their 14th anniversary or
Yeah, I
13th? One of
do
their anniversary shows. How did that come about?
just do what I do, showing up. I wasn't uh, quote unquote invited there, but I went. I knew Christopher Daniels was there. Kenny King, which I met in Vegas, which is a very nice guy, was there, was working. Elgin was there. Man, who else did I know? Like, there's a bunch of cats that I knew that were just working. So I was like, hey. And then from that, I just showed up. I knew when the call was for like ring crew and stuff. I just showed up. I'm like, hey, this is me. And it just so happened that somebody walked by that knew me, and then that was it. That's funny. There's like 20 guys. I'd say 20 to 25 guys, all, doing ring crew and stuff. And they had a spot on the pay-per-view for two guys, two or three. I think it was two guys. The first guy drove Jesus Molina. He drives the truck for ROH. He's been driving the truck just to get an opportunity, at something like that. He was super stoked at it. And I just got there and I just put myself out there. I'm like, yeah. And I got, out of the 20 guys, they picked me. Like, well, because I knew some of the boys. So I was like, okay, you're gonna go in there, you're gonna take a bump tonight. I'm like, yep, cool. So they let me in the spot, and in my head, I'm like, okay, I got 3 seconds. So what am I gonna do to stand out in any way? So I'm like, how can I sell this punch or whatever? And if you want to go back at it, I thought I sold it pretty interestingly. And I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna take a bump. That's fucking knockout shot and boom, roll out, and that was it. And yeah, that was it.
Have you had any
And
contact with them since about going back or anything?
absolutely, I partied with Delirious in Vegas the other day, and they're open invitation to go to to Philly and do the same kind of shtick that I was supposed to do with Evolve. Start off low, go to their school and do. I haven't. For me, some people think like, yeah, yeah, what the hell, like but I have no idea. I have no problem. I mean, working for those things. Once my foot is in the door,
Yeah.
I'll kick that door open. You know what I mean? I'm confident.
You just got to
You
get
know,
in, right? That's
I just
it.
got.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people. Oh yeah, but there's so many guys out there. There's so many guys out there. Oh look, it's my girlfriend. Hi. Yeah, okay, well. So many guys they could pick. There's so many guys send their tapes to ROH and all that stuff. They have so many guys to go through, and only very limited amount of spots to fill. So I have no problem going there and once my foot in the door, dude, I'll kill it. I don't care. I was supposed to do that in July, but I've had shoulder problems, which are starting to feel better. And the MRI, I got a couple of MRIs, and I didn't get the results from them yet. But I met the first doctor, which took a couple of X-rays and said something that my rotator cuff is fine. So that's a huge deal. So I think right now they're thinking it's a slap tear, and that could be done through rehab. And that if that's the case, that's going to be amazing. Because if it's an operation, then I'll come back and it'll be like 6 to 10 months. So
Yeah.
that'll be very very hard, especially at my old age. But I'm
Ancient.
age, so I'm starting to rehab it now. I'm not in the shape that I usually am. I still go to the gym, but it's very unmotivating when you can't do many of the things that you usually do.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm still in there all the time, and I'm still doing my thing. But I'm getting better every day. Like yesterday was one of the best days that I've had at the gym in a long time. So I'm feeling very stoked. So if everything works well, I'll be definitely trying to go with Philly. I got great contacts. I got boys that work backstage, all really fucking cool guys, and I got all their contacts. So it's just a matter of getting my ass to Philly.
You're coming to work for UCW on the Matt Hardy tour. How did that come about?
Chuck contacted me and asked, if I'd be interested in doing it, which I said yes, of course. And then he said Matt Hardy, and I was like, okay. He's like, oh, I talked to a couple guys, and a lot of guys like he already announced that Matt Hardy was coming. I think he already had. I think Spryfield was going to be um, one of his boys, like maybe Jason Rumble or a Forrest Cullen or something of the sort that worked him. But then I think he got a lot of messages about, oh, Marcus Burke should work or Marcus Burke. So he contacted me. He's like, hey man, how about we do this? And I said, sure, let's do it. So that came about that way. And I mean, working Matt Hardy, I'd be crazy to say no, no, kicking Matt Hardy in the head. So that's good. Um, uh, so that's gonna happen April 30th. That's it's gonna be pretty interesting, man. I'm pretty stoked about it.
What can the fans expect to see when Matt Hardy and Marcus Burke get in the ring in Spryfield on April 30th?
Well, I'm definitely gonna wear his skin. Definitely. I'm definitely gonna cut him open and like I don't know, take his insides out and all those things. But dude, you can expect exactly what I bring to the table. It's gonna be a fight for sure. And the funny thing is, we're gonna draw better than the last TNA pay per view or the last TNA event. You know what I mean? So you're welcome, Matt Hardy. Maybe you can buy your wife a little something nice when you get back home. Um, it's gonna be. I don't know what he's expecting, but I know what I'm gonna bring. He may be like, oh, okay, this is gonna be easy breezy, but it won't be for sure. It definitely will not be like some sort of come in and hold the headlock for 20 minutes and then go home. It's not how it's gonna work. So For everybody that's thinking about going, go. Trust me, go. I got some surprises, so that should be fun. Um, and on the other dates, the other dates. I know we're doing PEI, we're doing Kentville, we're doing. I'm not going to be at the Digby show. I'm going to Campbellton for that show. It's my hometown for IHW, so I'm going to be doing that. But Spryfield is a big night for sure.
Um, there's just a few questions left here. Did you ever work for mainstream wrestling?
Nope,
Why?
never. I don't know. I think I had a couple conversations with Devin, but it just never happened. I think, especially with money wise, a lot of guys work. You know, I'll work for free or whatever, and that's how the promoters get money. And I don't. Again, I bring a certain quality and professionalism to that ring. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what match you put. You gotta be first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth match, wherever I'm in. After like, they'll talk about wrestling. If they're gonna talk wrestling, they'll be, oh, remember that guy, remember that vegan guy, or whatever. So even back in the day, remember that Mr. Suave guy? I wasn't half as talented in the ring as I was, but I got my Mr. Suave stuff over weirdly enough. So why I never worked for him? Probably just because of money, I assume. I'm not sure, but that's probably why.
There's an issue between you and Alexander Saint, Narcissus Saint. Where does that come from?
No idea, man. He's burned a lot of bridges. That's why you don't see him in IW or Red Rock or Newfoundland or any of the. I think he's in UCW. That's gonna be super interesting because
He's
I
not
know
doing the tour.
he's not doing the tour.
No.
Well, I'm probably the reason why he's not doing the tour. I didn't say anything about him. I don't want him booked. I would love for him to be booked, and I would love to talk to him because me and Sam were friends. But then he started talking shit about everybody. He grew up with Steve or Double XL. He started talking shit about Steve too. We just had that conversation the other day. It just
Yeah,
like
Steve talked about it in the interview that I did with him.
yeah, really, he just I don't know, burned some bridges and not like face to face stuff either. Like we're friends. Like one day we're partying in Newfoundland, the next day he's shooting on me on Facebook and blocked. I think I posted something once about and he felt like it was directed at him, but it definitely was not. Like I had a bunch of people. I think it's a particular post where something about I can't even remember what it was really. Something about doing backflips. You can't work, but you do backflips or whatever. But then he, something. Oh man, I forget what he said, but basically he said that all I can do is yell vegan. Oh, if I can. Oh, what can he say? Something all I can do is yell vegan. I'm a shitty wrestler, but all I can do is yell vegan. And I was like, wow, that was intense. And I messaged him. He's like, well, you talk shit about me. I'm like, no, I didn't. Then he just stopped talking. He blocked me on Facebook, and that was it. I just, dude, internet fucking, you know, Twitter fingers.
And you and Cowboy Mike Hughes used to get along fine, and now there's some tension there. Where does
Hmm.
that come from?
I don't know. Um, that's something me and Mike are gonna have to talk about, and we've been in contact, so we'll see what happens. I would love to go back on the island. I get a lot of messages. I get messages, not daily, but weekly about, hey, you should go back to, when are you coming back to the island? Blah, 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 all that stuff. I'm going back on the island at UCW, which is fine. You know what I mean? But Red Rock is where it's at on the island. It might be the biggest promotion on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like I would bring a lot to Red Rock.
So you're
And
definitely open to talking to Mike and fixing whatever problems there.
100%. I've been open for a while, and I think he's open now too. So hopefully that work out. And if not, we can just do it in the ring. How about I go to PEI and we can work a match and we'll settle it in the ring. I'm cool with that too. Either way.
If you could choose to put one match on a DVD of yours to show somebody what you do, what match would you choose?
Wow. Wow. Um, I have man.
You can pick a couple. Just
No, no, I'm gonna pick one.
you're
I'll
gonna pick
break them
one. All
down.
right.
I wouldn't put the Julian Young in the ladder match because I wouldn't want it's a good match, but that's not what I'm about. You know what I mean? I'm not about the crazy stuff. So not that. Johnny Mundo's great, but yeah, that'd be good too. Either Mundo, Speedball, or Titus. I think probably I'd go with me and Titus in Moncton. We had a match at the Lions Club, and we didn't do. we just worked the fucking match. We had people on their feet, and they booked us like third match because for some reason I think the main event was whatever it was. It was a good main event, but I just forget what it was. We're booked third, and we had people on their feet. We went probably 12 to 15, and people loved it. And we didn't do much. We just told a great story. I think that's probably the one I would, and that's online as well. Marcus Burke versus Titus, and that's probably the one I would choose, just for the fact that I know how to tell a story. We just killed it. I worked Titus a million times, and I would work him another. If I could work him every day and make it like a living off it, if I could pick one guy, I'd work him every day. Easy. We're snug with each other. We hit each other hard, but that's how I like it, and just safe. He wouldn't. I trust him not to drop me on my head, all that stuff. So yeah.
Your thoughts on the effort a pro wrestler needs to have in the gym, getting properly trained, and effort in getting booked other places?
Um, it's huge. Like when I travel, I always try to bring somebody with me. Like I brought last year, I brought Kirk around with me. Like we went to New York together, went to Quebec together. Um, I always try to bring somebody with me to like show him like how it is. Not to be don't have to be scared, man. You know what I mean? Wrestlers are wrestlers everywhere. I brought him to Quebec, and Kirk was like, "Dude, I'm better than half these guys." I'm like, "Yeah, you are exactly because you're probably trained. You're from the Maritimes, man." And I mean, Maritime wrestlers they don't get a good rap or a bad rap. They don't have a rap. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
don't have
it's
a
weird. We
reputation.
have so much talent here that nobody knows about.
Yeah, it's insane. When a guy like Kirk is on the bottom of the card working second matches, I'm not saying Kirk's the best worker, but look at other companies that for their second and third match, it's not even close to being on Kirk's quality of work. I think we demand a lot. Well, we have a lot of great workers like Pete, Mike, Gary, kind of, and obviously other guys. I'll just mention them because they're still around. Um, Set a standard of work, and we saw those guys kind of like almost in awe, like these guys are professionals. And then we have other guys like like then I put myself, Titus, Julian's double XLs, and Rick Stones and all that stuff. We always try to um, like outdo each other almost. You know what I mean? Like I want to be the top guy. And I want somebody to take my spot as a top guy because this is just gonna make me work harder to go, to be on top again. and and then that drizzles down to all the bottom guys as well. And you see the guys that I'll mention them. I don't even care, like the Haggerty, what's his name, Hotshot Haggerty's and all that
Aaron
of the
Haggerty.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, they're good guys, but instead of getting booked everywhere, they just said, well, they're not booking me, so I'll start my own promotion, and I'll put myself champion. There's guys that you can either see it two ways. Either you want to be the shittiest guy. This is my way of thinking. The shittiest guy on the best card. I want to be the shittiest guy on the card because then I'll be like, okay, what do I have to do to get to that point where I'm the best guy on that card? Or it can be the best guy on the shittiest card. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I know what I would pick, and I think. Well, I know that a lot of the guys that we bring in the IHW, they want to be the best. They want to be on that card as well. When you have guys like Peter Smith, Titus, me, Julian, Double Excels, um, uh, Gary Williams, Josh Stone, uh, Dick Durnings, Jesus Christ, man.
It's a
Then you get
talented
the Greek
roster.
talented roster. You got Greaser coming in and Shane Stevens. And people don't give a lot of credit to Canadian Idol, but I think he's one of the best workers around where he knows his gimmick. He's not going to go out there and do, oh, well, yeah. A lot of guys that are limited, I'm not saying he's limited, but a lot of guys that, because he was a little chunky back in the day, were limited. Well, oh, I want to do backflips or I want to be an MMA guy. He's like, dude, I'll be the funny guy. And that got him booked every fucking show for the past 4 years or whatever. He's a funny guy. He came up with funny spots. He's lighthearted. He know, okay, I have 5 minutes today. I'm going out there making the best. The 5 minutes is going to be amazing. He's not going to complain about his time. He's going to go out there and make that 5 minutes the best he can. And he's doing amazing job. I mean, he sings his own like an entrance song, and people boo him and throw stuff at him. It's great. That's great. So, you know, so go back to the point where you could either be the worst guy on the best card or the best guy on the shittiest card. So that's up to you. For any guy wrestler coming up, be the shittiest guy on the best card. That's how you learn. Don't mark or oh, and don't mark out, dude. Oh, did you see my move? Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, oh, do you see how far my elbow drop was? Shut the fuck up. Just shut up. You know what I mean? Just work and don't mark out over your shit. Just listen. If nobody's saying anything to you, then you're doing something right. Okay? If somebody's shitting on you, it's not because you're bad. It's just you have to get better, and that's how we do things. If nobody says anything to you, I'm like, sweet, awesome, I did a great job. Then I'm not looking for a pass on the back. You know what I mean? I'm not a child. So there you go. I don't know what the fuck your question was.
You got
All
it.
right.
Who do you think is the best wrestler in the Maritimes right now?
Well, I am.
Other than yourself.
Oh.
Who's number two?
Whoa. Great question. I can't, man. Okay, I'm gonna base this on work rate, gym, traveling. I'm gonna base this on a lot of things, not just the best. Do you want like the best in-ring worker, or like overall kind of
Your opinion. When I
uh
asked that question, who came to mind?
like three guys came to mind. God
Who?
damn.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, well, um double XL for sure. He's always been good, but he's a little marked out back in the day, but he's starting to be like chill about just being one of the boys. Like, okay, I have good matches, and he's being very down to earth, which is amazing. Um, because he's a great talent and he's finding his niche. You know what I mean? Like he's not marking out over his moves either. We can go out there and just kind of call shit on. Like we had Newfoundland and he was a heel. He didn't do anything. He let me shine and then he got his heat just by being like the heel and he got it because back in the day as a heel he do cool stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So he's getting it very much.
Yep.
Um, so
No,
double X,
I've seen him since pretty much he started. He's a completely
yeah,
different wrestler person
right.
now than he was back
Yeah.
then.
So a lot of us are, you
Yeah.
know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like, so it's good. It's really good. Of course, Titus. Titus is amazing. I wish Titus would go to the gym and fucking buy new pants, get new gimmicks, and I don't know, take a shower or something. I don't know. But he's amazing. He's great to work with. If we always said when we first started that if he would put in the effort, he could be anywhere he would want to be. And he put in some effort. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not shitting on Titus. He's amazing. But I think if he went to the gym 100% and all that stuff, he could have been wherever. But maybe that's not what he wanted. But maybe I can't shit on a guy that maybe that's not what he wanted. No big deal. He's done great. He's done amazing things on the local scene, and he went to England. I mean, Jesus,
Yep.
so he's done great things. So yeah, that was Hell Titus. Dick Durning. Dick Durning's great. I've worked with him. Were you there for the Jake Roberts Cape Breton show? No.
Not Kip Breton show. No.
Okay. Well, me and Dick Durning, we made a point to not call anything. Like, there's no, like, with Lincoln Steen, okay, well, maybe the hope spots we can do this. We didn't say anything. We're like, what's the finish? I knew his finish was the split-legged moonsault. We worked around that the whole fucking match, and it was awesome, dude. Like, we had the crowd popping. I'm like, the Smarks, you know what I mean? Like, all the Smarks from Halifax were popping. So, no, that was pretty rad. That was pretty awesome. So, Dick Durning's a great worker as well. Shit, I'm missing people for sure. Josh Stone, obviously about Peter, Mike, and Gary, but they're been there, done that kind of guys. Man, everybody that I mentioned is like my favorite wrestler. I love watching guys. Just Canadian Idol is probably my favorite wrestler, actually. Weirdly enough,
Who do you think's the most overrated?
overrated, as in like, well, what do you mean by overrated? Like who I think should not be in the top spot? That is.
Yeah.
Well, Jason Sins. I think it's a consistent fucking. I think everybody can agree on that, except for his girlfriend and family. Yeah, who pays? Has he ever sold one ticket except for his family and friends? Really? Somebody's gonna pay to go see JP Sins? Really?
All
Come on.
right. Do you have any closing comments for any friends, family, or fans that might be watching this?
Fuck. How long did we go? How long is this thing? 2 hours?
It's right. It's about the timer says 1:45, but we stopped for a second, so probably like somewhere between 1:30 and 1:40. Long
Yeah,
time.
you can feel free to cut all this shit and make like a 15-minute fucking clip. That'd be cool. No, man, follow me on at Vegan Wrestler on Twitter. I'm always talking shit about somebody. Um, yeah, Marcus Burke on my Facebook. Just thanks to all my Maritime fans, all my fans in general. Vegas was fucking quite a trip. Um, More to come. So I fell down. I'll tell you, like I said, I fell down on myself, like coming back from Vegas for a month. Um, but just all the support that I get here is insane, and it's something I'll never forget. And I will, in any capacity. If I make it, cool. If I don't, cool. You know what I mean? I made it here because this we this place is insane. It's the best place to work that I've ever been in, and the best fans with the best wrestlers. So it's insane that we don't have, um, the respect of what we should have. We should have TV shows. We should have all this stuff. Okay, we have the Bell stuff. Okay, well, we should have way more attention on us because we have the best fans, the best wrestlers. Um, it doesn't make any sense, but it is
Yeah,
what
I
it is.
couldn't agree. I mean, like, there's so much attention on like the East Coast of the United States, like New York, Philly
Yeah,
area, California, Florida. Like, our guys are just as good, but like, why does
better.
nobody
Yeah,
know about us? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's insane.
it's insane.
Yeah.
And, you have to go to Montreal. Like, no offense, I like working in Quebec, but dude, most of those Quebec guys, like obviously there's a certain few like Markus. I'm gonna start naming them. I don't even want to, but they know who they are. They're very good. But most of these guys couldn't hold our fucking jock straps, man. You know what I mean? Nobody can go out there and just work. Oh well, let's do all my spots here, and then no. Toronto has some good workers like Randy Rain. I think you're gonna see him on WWE TV. I worked him in Destiny, which is a wonderful promotion. And Randy Rain's a fucking beast, man. He's like 6'5" and looks like $1 million. I'm not sure why they haven't signed him yet. I think he's a little old for them, but maybe not. He might be like 26. I'm not sure what he is.
They have a
Um,
cutoff of 30 unless you're a huge name.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, AJ Styles is 38,
Yeah.
so yeah. I mean, if you're a huge name, yeah, I agree. Um, but you might see he's amazing. He's really good. I got to work him. I was happy about that. But the point is, keep supporting maritime wrestling. If you don't like, if you watch this entire interview and you think I'm an asshole, don't support me. Go support somebody else that you like. Because we're all very, very good. Even Chip Chambers is good.
Chip Chambers is
Uh,
good.
he's really good. I just I wanted to say his name because he
Yeah.
is really, really good.
Yeah.
Um, um, go to the gym.
I've only saw him twice now, and it's
Yeah,
pretty safe that he's come close to steal the show both times
there you go.
at
Cool.
Wrestle Center. I got the ref his last match and fucking
Really?
off the charts. Like,
No, yeah, I
yeah,
got to work at Tip Chambers like 2.5 years ago, something like
yeah.
that. And just by touching the kid, I'm like, okay, well, this guy has enormous possibility, and um, I wish he'd go to the gym. I tell him all the time. He's
Wish
always got some
everybody
sort
would go to the gym more.
yeah. But especially a guy like him, he's so good looking. His face is just like he's $1 million. You know what I mean? He looks like $1 million. A great smile. The girl with the body, the girls would love that kid,
Yeah.
man. But that's his decision, man. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. I can't do things for other people. But
No.
yeah, he's got a great in ring worker. Did I shoot on everybody? Did I like? Is everyone gonna hate me after this?
Everybody, no, it's fine. I don't think
All
so.
right,
I
all
think you
right, all
came
right.
across
Maybe.
as genuine and honest and truthful. Nice guy that you are.
Sure. Yeah. Totally.
Just change your name to Nice Guy Marcus Burke.
Yeah, that's right. So in closing, I don't know, man. That's it. Support
All
Maritime Wrestling. If you don't like me, support Chip Chambers. How about that?
right. All right. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to do this interview. I really appreciate it.
Dude, thank you. New Scoot. New Scoot.
Thank you.
This
Too
is
sweet.
too sweet.
Too sweet. Yeah.